Welcome to the Queen Divas, Queens of Fitness podcast. Join your hosts, three-time WBFF world champions and WBFF royalty, Alicia Gowans and Stephanie Ayala McHugh, as we explore all things female health, training, competing, mindset, and living the fitness life every day.
Welcome everybody back to the latest edition of Queen Divas podcast. I actually forget what number we're up to.
We're on number 31. 31, everyone.
Wow. Right? That's incredible.
Thanks for listening thus far. I mean, hopefully you guys are learning or, just getting some insights from Ali and I. It's been really a lot of questions, I think more about like foods that I come up in my DMs and what we eat and kind of, how much protein we eat and how do you budget it out and how do you eat so much, I think that's kind of more of the number one question I get besides training. How about you, Ali?
Yeah, look, I definitely think so too. And I think a lot of struggle with mindset when it comes to shifting landscapes for people. And I think that's why our episode that we did on the off season, was such a really well-received one, but also, super important for a lot of people because I had so many people come to me and be like, I just had this light bulb moment, this total aha moment of
such a good response.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop harassing everyone around me or my coach or you, Ali, and I'm just going to settle into this now. And I'm going to actually freaking embrace it, So that was really cool. And I'm really glad that we had that opportunity and this platform to help people like that. And, that's the whole concept behind why we do what we do and come together and chat like this. But I think it's definitely that sort of stuff that I see more of. It's definitely a lot of questions around, just sort of random things like supplementation and timing on things, but then also, how to actually get out of that more is more mentality, where they want to do 7 days a week in the gym. They want to overtrain.
We've talked about this. Yeah.
Exactly. The concept of pulling back.
Yep.
Yeah. Pulling back, not doing too much and eating enough is usually the biggest issue most women have. It's like, exactly. It's fear. It's
and under eating, actually we've talked about that too. It's not just about, the overtraining aspect. Some people are training maybe sufficiently, but they're under eating and the undernutrition, you're malnutrition, you're really nutritionally deficient. And that's what's causing a lot of these other hormonal issues, gut issues, obviously not growing, maybe those areas. And, obviously your legs, if you're focusing on glutes, I think every freaking female in the whole earth is working on some shape or form, glute, hamstring, quad, lower body enhancing, like the shape of it. So if that is the case, we have to address our food and are we eating enough and are we having adequate amount of protein like we've had in previous episodes that you can, refer back to. And because this question gets asked a lot about what do you eat? And we obviously like this last episodes, we actually had like 2 ago, I believe, or no, actually last episode.
Where we were talking about the
post-training. Yeah. And this kind of leads into what we're talking about too.
Yeah. We're giving examples of, some things that we will hit and the importance. And, actually I had quite good feedback, from people, and listeners from that episode as well. So thank you everyone for actually reaching out and giving us commentary back, because it's always great to know what's hitting and what you're finding really relevant and what you'd like to hear more about, because
they were like, I didn't know I was supposed to be doing that.
Yeah. And so I've had a lot of that, with the whole concept of, okay, the timing of things now being important and where can I optimize performance by placing certain ratios before and after training. Yep. And just even recognizing that it doesn't have to be what bro science stereotypical post-training looks like, which is got to smash down the WPI within 5 seconds of finishing, get it on water and
shaking the shaker right inside the gym.
It does. So I think it was really lovely to be able to share all of that too. And backing on from that, Steph made a joke about how all of my meals post-training look like a Michelin star chef.
They do.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm very fucking blessed, and they actually are pretty sensational.
She has a chef in her house. I mean, her freaking partner is like a full-on chef. He makes the sauces. He makes like, you know, all these different seasonings from scratch. And like, I mean, I've had Christos's food and I'm mind blown every time he cooks steaks, or he makes eggs even look like taste amazing. I'm like, who makes eggs so like a delicacy? Like, I mean, I'm just being serious. I mean, I eat eggs every day and nowhere like his flavor.
And look, the scary part is that I can cook too. So, you know, if you get both going, it's like
Ali's like, hey, don't get me wrong.
It's actually out of control. But I will say this though, the only reason that I don't anymore is because because he's on the spectrum, he actually gets a level of, it's the only time I see him calm. Like actually calm.
Get out of his shell. And it's kind of like
it's like
passion. You can see the passion that comes out of it. Yeah.
It's very cathartic. And when he's in his bing, 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 bing moment, it actually brings him down to earth, and he actually down regulates a bit and chills out a bit, and it's very interesting to see.
It's a zenful moment, right? Like how we use other hobbies, you know, like to maybe entertain us or you know, de-stress. Same thing. I can understand. That's actually kind of like my mother. She cooks to, you know, unwind. Actually, like she makes things, you know, to try to almost in a way cope and
relax,
not necessarily to eat, but to relax. Exactly.
So Christos,
I understand. Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, well, you know,
you
love it. It's something that I think is, you know, just physically very good for you mentally. So I just let him go, you know, like I don't mind when I'm alone.
I mean, it's no problem just walking into the kitchen with the, you know, meal rolled out. So 100%. I mean, all kudos to you guys. That's amazing. You guys are a power couple in the aspect that you guys each have, you know, your own passion that all combines and comes together, right? So he cares about the nutritional side. He also knows the nutritional side, and that's very important.
And he asks too, you know, like it's relevance. He doesn't just you know, throw stuff together. He literally will be like,
what kind of macros are you following? What do we have to hit? What is it that we have to kind of like follow along?
Exactly. Yeah. Even down to when he's doing his you know, premium orders. So he has these couple of different sources that he purchases from, but he does these premium orders, you know,
like a butcher or something, like a butcher, like slices,
seafood, organic, you know, market.
Stop it. You're making me want to go to like the fish market or like go to a steakhouse, because that's the kind of food. I'm not even kidding. Like that's what they are eating. Okay, for the rest of us, the ones that don't eat, you know, at the gourmet level every single day, that we have to kind of, you know, maybe whip some stuff up on our own, learn how to cook. Maybe you're those that don't know how to cook. It's okay. Like you
or
can
even, you could be people that freaking hate it, and you know, and I get that. I've got a lot of clients that are like
simple recipes that don't need a lot of extensive cooking. But also kind of understanding that the budgeting side of things does get expensive. Like I get constantly like, man, it's you know, it's so expensive to eat healthier, and it's crazy whenever we look at it. Like when we go out to a restaurant or we go out, you know, to just a public place, the healthier salad's always going to be more expensive than maybe the cheeseburger, you know. And if that's the case here in Australia,
but oh my God, what you don't get when you're eating a cheeseburger instead of, right? But the other thing is that I'm always been of the mindset that, and I think, you know, we've actually shown this too. You're not actually going to spend more money if you eat healthy, as long as you know how and where to do it, right? So, you know, the key to it is, if you are someone that's always been eating a junk food takeaway where you can get a full big massive meal for like $5.95, then yes, it's probably going to seem very, very expensive to you when you walk down the street and to buy a salad, it's $15, you know, and you don't feel as satiated because it's not full of fat.
It's not as fulfilling. Correct.
Preparing it at home, we can actually
so much cheaper.
Do this so much cheaper. So
like cheaper than the $5.95, like you're talking about. Like you can do these things by, again, we're talking about at home cooking, and then we will go into a couple, like I guess like some of my go-tos and some of your go-tos that on the go. But we are referring to actually saving money, budgeting your meals by being able to resource them on your own, because not all of us have the ability to maybe meal prep with a meal prep company, right? Like outsource to someone else to, cook your meals, because it gets costly, and not only that, you maybe don't eat them as often. Sometimes you don't like the flavor, or you're just kind of like stuck finding the right place.
Get bored of the same mix.
Get bored.
They have the exact same, food with no variation. And this is the other thing. When you're doing this preparation at home on your own, you can completely vary a meal. So, one of the fun things I love doing is taking the same 5 ingredients and making, and I'll do this often on my socials, and I'm actually about to do this again soon. I'll make 5 to 6 different meals with 5 ingredients only, and show how, if you were to get given it in a plan, there is no need to get a new plan every single week, because the reality is that those 5 ingredients, you can make 5 to 6 different courses.
So many different meals, which we could refer to, some carbohydrates, which is kind of like what you're even, kind of using, whether if it's a protein source or a carb. Like, guys, we can make so many things out of eggs and oats. It's ridiculous. It's like kind of mind blowing how much you're able to actually make from just oats themselves, a little protein powder, a little egg, a little milk. Like, all these things go such a long way. And if we're really thinking of like even a third world country where they're having to really budget their food and try to be more resourceful with fulfilling and satiety and making sure that you are fulfilled, it's going to be like beans and rice. Like, I mean, I grew up on beans and rice. Like, that was actually probably one of the number one things that we had with every single meal, along with like a small amount of protein. But because you're, trying to still fill in the gap. And I think what's really more important is understanding those nutrients, which you can always refer back to some of those episodes that we talk about more macros and understanding them, and, obviously how to designate the type of protein, fat, and carbohydrate that you should be combining together. Because we do have that even with the post-training episode, kind of go through what's a good ratio. But it's mainly about bulk, I believe. I think when it comes down to buying food, going to a wholesaler is always going to be the cheaper route. Instead of going to like your mom and pop store, which they have to tax you, they have to, like inflate the price, because they are not buying as much as that wholesaler. So that wholesaler here in the States, we have Costco. I don't know if you guys have a store like a Costco.
We actually have Costco in a couple of places, but not many. It's like, I don't know.
But do you have like a reference, like kind of like, do you see what I'm saying? Like a wholesaler, or like they have everything and everything's sold in bulk.
We have something similar, but we do have Costco. They're just not everywhere. It's not like the States where you can literally have one in every location. So if you've got anyone that's living regionally in Australia, they will not have access to that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's a bit different for them.
So do you guys have like maybe one of the most common stores that is known, that's maybe a food chain, like that's a, grocery store in Australia? Because that's kind of like what happens here. We have Walmart.
Yeah. You guys have Walmart, you have Ralph's, and you have
hey, I grew up on
Ralph's. I'm all over. I know my American.
We don't have Ralph's here in Texas though. Like here in Texas, we don't have Ralph's. No, I got that from California. But we have Albertsons and Kroger's. Okay, these are just bigger wholesalers. They are not maybe to the bulk. So Costco, that's literally everything you buy is going to be in bulk, versus if we go to maybe a Ralph's, a Kroger here, or a Walmart, you don't have to be obligated to buy 6 packs of rice with that, amount. It would be individual packs, but the price comparable to other grocery stores that are as big is quite relevant. Yes.
Like my favorite store, but it's freaking expensive, is Whole Foods, right?
So same here.
But the difference between what you spend at Whole Foods to Walmart is the same product.
It's ridiculous.
You know what I mean?
Given that the qualities and different, obviously resources are coming from these foods, like we have maybe, more organic options at Whole Foods, and we have maybe some, more gluten-free availabilities at these kind of natural stores. But if we're really thinking about like the whole spectrum, on a budget, you do not need,
Hey, question. Can you actually order Costco online?
Yes, you can. And you can actually, so here in the States, you can order Costco online, but you can also order, because Amazon Prime here in the States is owner of Whole Foods. So all of anyone that has Amazon Prime here in the States can, within 2 hours, 2-hour delivery, you can, this person's going to go to the store, get all of your groceries and deliver them to your door. Obviously not within that 2-hour span, but they're going to be shopping with, your grocery list within 2 hours. And probably within that 4-hour mark, you're going to be getting groceries at your door, because Amazon is obviously like the biggest, e-commerce here at the moment. So they have also bought out Whole Foods, and they have that as their, service. So it is pretty damn cool, but Whole Foods is expensive as fuck. Like if we really think about it, like, yeah, come on, like a little bit of, chicken. I can go buy chicken at, Walmart and still be organic. Let's even talk about still clean, nice, good chicken. I can spend $12, you know what I mean? Like for a pound and a half of organic chicken, depending on kind of, of course, how much I'm getting. I'm going to go spend about $16. You know what I mean?
On
like
a quarter
or like, yeah, which again, give or take, like, yes, sometimes it is worth it. But if we're on a budget, you do not need to be at these all natural food stores.
No. So the number one thing I always say to any of my team that is sort of, very much financial restrictions, limitations, budgets, they've got big families, like there's a whole bunch of factors that might be making us make really considered, budget-based decisions when we're looking at their programming. The number one thing I would say for anyone that's following, and if it fits your macros, not following a plan, is pre-plan for the week what meals you're going to have. Like, don't let it be up by the fly, if it fits your mouth situation day to day. It's going to add up super quick. So I think pre-plan your meals, know what you're going to have for the week. Doesn't mean you're going to have the exact same food every single day, but know your rotations, know what days you're going to have, what meats or what dishes, and then do your bulk purchase for all of that at the start of the week. For me personally, I really love things fresh. So I usually always go start of the week and then midway through the week top up. We also, one of the biggest things we invested in, which I think has been such a massive saving, and we eat all organic, and it sounds, flash and expensive, but it's not, because we grow most of what
I was going to say that if anyone is up for it,
of what we eat,
you should grow a garden. You should start adding some herbs. Start with herbs. I think herbs are like the best form to start a garden, because they're easier to take care of, to nurture. And once the herbs, because it's just like a plant, are up and going, you can start using your herbs for your seasonings. Adds a lot more flavor to your food.
Difference. You can change every single meal substantially by which
a little basil, a little cilantro, obviously just like having a little bit of just like any type of herb. Honestly, like for me, herbs are the key to any dish. But here comes also, the next, ability to be able to do some vegetables like, some tomatoes. Oh my God,
that's just going to say some of the most common ones that you use really frequently, like tomato, cucumber, zucchini,
onions. Obviously, onions are a little tougher.
They grow so easily. Like we are literally taking cucumber and tomato off of our trees every single day, fresh, every single day. Like it's crazy. Eggplant, which is you guys call it aubergine. We literally have that all the time.
Depends on where you are, because I call it eggplant, but I know what you're saying.
So, we actually make, Christos does this amazing tomato and eggplant reduction salsa that he puts through all of our pasta. And he's just all the fresh produce that he boils and simmers and reduces over the course of like 4 or 5 hours. But it's just all of our trees. We also have the most amazing banana tree that gives us bananas fresh, probably I would say 70% of the year. We don't have
That's a lot of work though, Ali, to get the banana tree to grow,
No, really not. No.
How long did it take you? I'm thinking the banana tree is going to take you months.
No. So what we did was we bought so this is the key to this too, guys. If you're going to invest in and start to develop your own backyard, like we did, I would suggest you get some things that are completely seedling new, and then you buy certain things that are going to take years that are pre-grown or partially mature. So that basically you plant them and you might wait a year but then they're fruiting ongoing, right?
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, a banana tree would have taken about a year to grow.
No, it's really good.
Scratch.
We got it partially mature. We had fruit on it within 6 months, but we have them here, we have them in Canberra, we have them in the Barley House, like we've got them everywhere.
Here in the States, really well. Banana is actually probably the cheapest fruit in the whole US. So for anyone budgeting like fruit or carbohydrates, because obviously banana is a very big carbohydrate, it would be like a banana. Like that would be the most resourceful thing here. So actually for some of the fruits, bananas and apples would probably be apples following right after that. Not that apples are cheap like a banana. Like, I mean, it's ridiculously cheap, like 50 cents a pound. Like, I mean, it's like really, really, really
that's cheap. Actually really good. They're not that cheap like that here. And they're probably one of the other most expensive things from time to time. It's not all the time, but from time to time.
Interesting.
And especially in New Zealand is an avocado. New Zealand avocado prices are ridiculous. For my athletes there, I have to really
think avocados are across the board are pretty expensive if they're not in season, but there are times here we get avocados for two avocados and $1. Like, two actual avocados for $1. But that's just when it's in season. Like if they're not in season, they're going to cost you, $2 to $3 per avocado.
I think with us too, because you would have seen so many situations with bushfires and floods and all of
that. These are mini California, swear. All of our stuff gets affected. Australia like Cali.
Yeah. Gets affected. And that happens, the farmers get affected, our pricing get affected. So to touch on this, and we're talking about, growing your own vegetation where you can, starting small, expanding. I think about the things that are relevant to your area, relevant to your climate, relevant to your backyard size, and then relevant to what you would consume too. Like, don't just get things for the sake of it. Get the things you actually would eat and use often and plant those first. And then second to that, go to a local farmer's market. We go every single week on either a Saturday morning or a Sunday, and the things we lack that are not yet fruiting in our garden or our baby seedlings taking a little bit longer to come, we pick them up every single week fresh at this market. Now I'm telling you, you're buying direct off the farmer, no middleman, no extra charges, no taxes, and you are literally spending, I'm not joking, maybe $40 or $50 for a family of 4. For the whole week.
Very, very true. The only issue I've ever had, and I think people can relate to this, when I go to the farmer's market, I get like a little too out of hand. Like I just want it all. I want all the fruits. And I'm like, but there's no way I'm really going to be able to budget in my calories. Like my macros was what I'm trying to say, to really eat all of this fruit, but I'm already there. And like the farmer's market's not really close to me. So I do have to go out of my way to go to a farmer's market. And I do enjoy it. Ali, you're so right. Like not just the price cut meaning from the middleman, but just the aspect. You see the farmers, like technically they're coming from that family, and it's like so nice to know you're almost giving back to, a local family, right?
And I don't know if you guys have this there, but at our markets here, we actually have local like farm to plate on cattle.
Yes,
we have the butcher. We also get like
butcher and fish market. It's like a fish market all at once. Yeah. It's like kind of one-stop shop. Like you kind of go and get all your natural organic, foods, or technically fresh from, the ocean, or fresh from, the butcher, like you said, or fresh from, the garden. But because I end up kind of overestimating how much, and not overestimate, I just get really, I just grab it and start putting everything into my basket. And here I am, like a week later, my stuff is getting bad. Like it's going, it's too ripe. I'm not going to be able to eat it. So I'm trying to give it away. So guess what, y'all, if you guys, have this issue, or, struggle with buying maybe your week in advance for your meal prep, or for your fruits and vegetables, freezing your vegetables is the easiest thing to preserve them. They are not going to go bad. So like bananas, how many ripe bananas go bad and you throw them away because they turn freaking black, So instead of waiting for them to get black, when they are ripe, you throw them. Trick is, you guys, okay, you have to take off otherwise you're going to be struggling with this side. I've done it before. Take off the freaking banana peel, okay? Peel the banana back and, just throw it into a Ziploc bag or saran wrap it and throw it into the freezer. You're going to be able to use these bananas in the future for your, shakes, or if you wanted to kind of unfreeze it and let it, obviously defrost and, obviously make it for a little pudding or some type of, extra, type of ice cream.
Put them in pancakes. You can put them
in pancakes. So many things. Berries, like same thing applies with berries, if it's blueberries, strawberries, I do this even. Oh, this is a trick. And I think this will be appreciated from those avocado lovers, because not everyone's an avocado lover, but they go bad so quickly. If you don't wait for that perfect moment for them to like go in the ripeness, they're either too hard and not really yummy. And then they're, obviously like kind of almost sour, or they're either a little, maybe, I don't know if there's too much of a ripeness, but then they start getting black inside. So that's kind of when we're talking about they get too ripe. So what you want to do, same thing. You don't have to peel the avocado like the banana, but still stick it in the freezer. You're going to be able to still keep the freshness of the avocado. You're just going to have to put it under water, hot water, defrost it when you want to use it, and you'll be able to now have a fresh avocado ready to use. It's pretty freaking amazing. If you've not been able to, preserve your avocados. I know I used to get so angry and so mad. I bought too many avocados, or you're trying to, space out to see how, how well you're going to do with eating them. This is just a really easy little technique by using your freezer, or even just freezing meals. If you're going to bulk your meals and they're going to go bad within 3 days because you did use fish, or you did use, something like eggs that does go bad pretty quickly, you can freeze your food. You can actually get a sealer, a food sealer, and have all your meals technically frozen. A lot of meal prep companies actually use that technique. They, cook all of it fresh. And after 3 days, they end up putting it in, obviously a frozen type of label so that it's preserved, and then mail it off to you, which I'm not a fan of that, because I'd rather it to be, obviously rolled out and, ate. But in worst case scenarios, if I know I'm not going to be able to meal prep again throughout the week, I will stick it in the freezer. And guess what? I'm just going to use it as like if it was a frozen meal. And I know where it came from.
Exactly. And that was actually going to be my next point. So other than looking at what you can actually start to grow yourself, or going to a local farmer's market to buy in bulk produce that is both, oftentimes organic and very clean.
We're a wholesaler.
It's also volume-based food. So it's more satiating and filling than going and having processed stuff anyway. But outside of those two things, when then you get home and you've got all of this produce, rather than having it go to waste, prepare it, cook it in bulk, have it done, and then freeze it.
Yes.
Freeze half
after it's done. Don't wait till, like you said, don't wait till it's like the bananas that are in the corner. That's just a technique. That's just like one of those things like, oh my God, I didn't finish my avocados this week.
Exactly.
Right?
I think it's a great one. Hey, on the note of avocados, if people are opening it up and they're only having like, say, 30, 40 grams in a serving per day, for argument's sake, especially as you get into a prep with deficits.
Yes.
The way you stop your avocado from going off is you actually fill a container full of water, stick it inside water, and put it in the fridge, and it won't go black.
It's the same. It's almost like the same technique of the freezing. It's crazy. Like I don't know what the avocado does while it's inside that, I don't know either, but the water and the freeze, something about it keeps it, not getting too ripe. So it is just a little tip. I relate to that one too, because we don't get that much avocado every single day when we are getting, closer to managing our fats. But I do think that protein is probably the most expensive. Obviously, I think all protein is raising prices across the globe with, the pandemic and all the type of, resources you can get it from. They're also increasing their prices. So even here, like the most essential protein it used to be chicken, but now that chicken has kind of got really bad, meaning in the aspect of like the manufacturers here and like the farms have not really been pumping out chicken as much. Actually, a ground meat is going to be the most essential for budgeting, like your price, like whether if that's going to be, ground turkey or ground beef, or even ground chicken is even cheaper than, doing just like a chicken breast. But another just trick. It's like a little hack that I think most people can, use. If you go to a grocery store, they sell those rotisserie chickens. Like they're whole chickens, right? Like the whole chickens, you do not need to be eating the skin, like you de-skin it. You take out the portions, whether if you're not going to have fats from the thigh or the wing or the drumstick, then you just obviously take out all those pieces and you just eat the breast. Like that's really probably the most resourceful for anyone on a budget, and anyone here in the States already knows that is like a go-to if you don't have cooked food. You can't pass through a restaurant.
You think about those salads you discussed at the start of the program that are super expensive. Go into any of those stores and any of your main food stores, especially here in Woolworths, Coles.
Bag of salad.
There's a salad bag. Take it out, throw it into your Tupperware, add a bit of your ripped off roasted chicken. It's got a salad for like maybe $7 versus $20.
Girls, they cost $7 over there. Are you kidding me? Oh my God.
To get the salad plus your chicken portion.
Okay. Now we're on the same level. I was really charging us $7 for a bag.
They're usually about anywhere between, depending on what one you get, anywhere between $3.50 to $4, something. So
you're looking at maybe the ones that have, is that the ones with things inside of them or just with the leaves? Because the ones here with the leaves
stuff
with $2 to $3.
Yeah, no, even ours here for the leaves is still close to $3. So
so it's still just a little higher.
A little bit
but we could still, like you said, like still for a good $7 to maybe $8, I think, across Australia and the US.
That's max.
That's like a couple meals. That's not even just, obviously one meal. Because one bag is going to be like, not even necessarily one full salad. It's going to kind of almost be like maybe two. But if we're thinking of even carbohydrates, right? Like I think that's another one that is, again, right, already spoke to you guys, like rice and beans, like that's going to be the number one for budgeting, but they do have a higher amount allotted to them in carbs. So if we're really thinking of maybe trying to like reduce them, corn tortillas, I think is just like such a really good option. I think every store, most places are going to have some type of corn tortilla or corn wrap or, some corn product that's really helpful. And that's also very cheap and it has a lot. It comes in bulk, so doing that along with even like, who doesn't have bread? Like, I think bread is, again, everyone.
Oh my God. Don't even get me started. Do you know how many crazy women don't touch bread because bread, right? So they're like, so bread equals fat. And if I eat bread, I'm going to get fat. And I don't understand for a second where this even started from. My mind explodes. Like I literally eat. I had this conversation online with someone the other day. I literally eat some days 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 slices of bread in a day. In a day. Sometimes, I love that. Because it'll be my slice of raisin toast, sometimes 2 as my pre-workout in the morning. Then I have 2 pieces of sourdough with my eggs if I'm having eggs in the morning. Then I may or may not have my slices of soy linseed low GI with my banana and peanut butter in the afternoon. Like I
have a sandwich every day, so I have bread every day. There's not a day I don't go by with having bread like that. Let me tell you guys that. Disclosure, I have daily bread, like whether if that is through a bagel, whether if that's through a sandwich or whether
a tortilla or something.
Yeah, a tortilla. But that's like, okay, tortillas have their own category for me, but they're a complete different family. Different, like
raised on tortillas and rice.
Okay, there's a difference between flour and corn. Like that's another reason why I bring up corn tortillas. I used to hate corn tortillas because flour. I mean, if anyone knows flour tortillas, they know there's a big difference. Like way better. But as far as macros and budgeting, both of them are going to be good in the budgeting side. But for our nutrients, corn tortillas have fiber. Those, like white tortillas that are the flour ones, they don't have anything. Okay. They're going to be those, very, very high amount of carbs. Oh yeah. Those are the ones that, whenever Hispanics tell me, oh, tengo que dejar la tortilla, that means like, I got to leave the tortilla, like the same way they tell you, I got to leave the bread, which is crazy to me because that's the first thing they tell us, right? I got to start a diet. I need to cut out my bread. It's like what?
Why?
Because bread is the only carb. I swear that's what they think. I think most people think, like, bread's the only carb out there, and it's not the case.
I think the stigma behind it comes from the fact that it doesn't come immediately directly out of the ground. So therefore it's
but it does.
Therefore it's going to be bad.
If you really think of it, if you really kind of think of it, I mean, all starts from wheat that comes out of the floor. I'm just saying, being even more, if we want to be ridiculous, like these people that throw us these articles and like, well, this says, that, bread is bad for you. I'm like, well,
it's going to be a carcinogenic next time we hear about it. But you know what, there's actually research on this. There is, and I know I've referenced this in another episode we did, so you probably would have heard me talk about it. There was research which showed that people that had different control groups, they had the exact same caloric intake, the exact same carb, consumption, the exact same output. And they had, one group consuming like a loaf of bread a day as their total carb intake. They got the same results and they still lost weight in a caloric deficit, the same as the other group. So it's like,
so just the takeaway from this, you guys, eat the fucking bread, okay? Exactly. Unless you are literally a celiac disease like type
and then you can get gluten-free and other options, so you can still
absolutely eat bread. Sourdough is even one of the favorable ones. As sourdough bread is it's not fermented the same way as the other ones. So I mean, we can get around, even if we have sensitivities to wheat.
Get around all of it.
Okay, but I mean, at the end of the day, bread's not the enemy. So bread's a really good budgeted.
How cheap is how cheap is a loaf of bread? Like, in all seriousness.
Why do you think we grew up on sandwiches too, right? Like turkey and a loaf of bread. Like you've got like your deli meat, which would be like a turkey, a ham. You've got obviously. Hey guys, cheese isn't the enemy. I used to think it was. I will tell you.
Chicken, strip it up, put it on the bread.
Put it right on. You got a chicken sandwich, right? So these are all things that going into the sandwiches mode, because sandwiches are like a daily thing.
I actually think they're live. I think they're live. Sandwiches
they are. Anywhere I go, restaurant, I'm gonna have a grilled chicken sandwich. Thank you. Okay. Like it's very easy for me to be able to have sandwiches at places because you understand the value. But when it goes down to, proteins, we always think of just chicken and beef. What about like tuna in a can, right? Like tuna in a can is probably the easiest and most cheap. Okay. I can't say the cheapest, but it's really efficient, like very efficient for the budget.
Another carb option that's super cheap: rice cakes. Cakes with your can of tuna as a snack. Like there are so many.
And pasta's even very cheap. When you cook in bulk, again, you have to think pasta, oats, like oatmeal. Oh my God, the things you can make out of oatmeal. You can blend the oatmeal to make it into batter.
The actual price point on oats for that whole bag is
great.
So cheap.
Same here. Here it's great price. So I think grains, so what we're leading into, like, which is kind of what we're talking, is that grains are very cost efficient. So whether if that is rice, beans, oats, wheat, all these things are very, very efficient in cost because they are also produced in bulk. It's not something very scarce.
The really interesting thing is when you listen to everything we've listed, does it surprise you that in none of these things is the $5.95 fucking McDonald's massive blow your brains out size meal? You know what I mean? None of it is listed anywhere.
And the kids meal. Oh yeah, I grew up on a kids meal. Like that's just like
but
you don't. We get trained. We're trained, Allie. It's a stigma that's from a child, and this is this is what we have to break, and this is the old us and the old, I guess, history of what used to be the norm, that we all had a fast food meal, growing up. I don't know if that's the case over there, but it was for me growing up. I had fast food every day.
I think for a lot of people, it definitely
on the go. Right?
Mine wasn't. I've never actually ever eaten McDonald's. So I've had
Did you just say you've never eaten McDonald's?
No, haven't. Have never.
Did you just say what?
Don't like it. I don't even like the smell of the place at all. What like my thing was
you never had a chicken nugget from McDonald's?
No, never ever. Never ever. No, thank you.
A Big Mac?
Not even
now.
No, nothing. Like, I've never had anything. So
can you tell I've ate there? I mean, if you can't tell I've ate there, I mean, I grew up on it though. Like Again, we were on a budget though. We were, and you don't understand. And this is the America that we know here. It's like, you think feeding your children a $2 Happy Meal, or, you know, like a $4, you know, pizza or whatever it is, like, is going to be the way to budget. But in reality, all we're doing, or what, you know, our parents really doing it's setting ourselves up for failure when we grow up, because we then think that is normal. That is okay. We're supposed to be eating pizza and burgers every day.
You'll laugh at me. I didn't have my first Pizza Hut pizza. So I never had a commercial pizza in my life until I was 18 years of age, and I went to a friend's
get out of here
party. Seriously, I went to a friend's birthday party, and it happened to be at like when Pizza Hut was like beside Sizzler, which was a big clear, and
I'm like in shock. Pizza is like it's my thing, okay? Like pizza, I grew up on actual pizza along with McDonald's. So I'm not even like someone to ask about, you know, hey, do you know what it's like, you know, to eat just healthy all your life? Because I don't know what it was like before.
Getting into the point that, I had actually never had pizza until I went to his birthday party at 18. But the thing that my family had, which was considered to be our, budget, super cheap, if we were being treated, and you're going to laugh at this. This is probably such an Aussie
shock already. Like you've never.
No, we would go to the marina where all the boats and things were down by the water, and we would get fish and chips. So you get a piece of you get like a battered scallop, you get a battered piece of fish, you get, or, crumbed or whatever it is you wanted. And as I got older, obviously mine were always grilled. But up until that, as a little kid, you were battered, and you get chips, hot chips. And then you know what we would do with those chips? We'd put them inside bread.
Oh my gosh.
Our tomato sauce. And we would literally eat chip fucking sandwiches. That was my idea of takeaway. And that was probably the most processed food I ever had. We didn't have really anything else. But that
technically what they call chips, okay, for my Americans here, it's like fries, okay, just fries, all right? Like I think some people are actually thinking like actual chips.
Like a potato
I think of chips, I think of like, Doritos or like, Lay's. We're actually talking about French fries. So
we never had any of that. We never had any.
Get out of here with your I was perfect child eating
not at all.
Like
but
natural
what
food.
We did have, and what we lived on, was like massive big bowls of mashed potato, because that's easy to make, super bulk. But you got to remember too,
again, potatoes is a perfect addition for anyone trying to do carbs. In bulk.
We would make homemade wedges, but we would literally make homemade versions of what
your takeout foods. Like what you would eat out. Well, like that's like a refeed of mine, like now. Okay. I grew up on Little Caesars, which is considerably like a Pizza Hut. Okay. Like for those Americans.
We didn't do that.
Like I had a pizza almost every day. Like this is not no joke. Like it was a pizza or kids meal every single day, along with beans and rice and chicken or tamales and tacos or some type of form of, stew or, caldo, which is a soup, like something along the way of that. But every single day I still had either a fast food through McDonald's at, like I said, like a kid's meal or a pizza, because Little Caesars was literally catty corner to our house, like not necessarily where we could it, but down the street. So it was like the easiest thing for them to feed me. And I was such a picky eater. I would not eat you anything that wasn't maybe, something with cheese, which is sad, but it was ridiculous, which is why I think I had such a bad relationship with cheese actually within my beginning of my fitness journey, because I really demonized cheese because I ate it so much growing up, and I really thought that was like the problem, and it really never was. It was the fact that it was my consumption of it, how much I had. Like I would literally cheese every meal up. Well, duh, there goes my fats through the roof, right? Like you just don't realize you're over consuming a nutrient or some food. And that's kind of where we go into the macro tracking. That's what we always stress to you guys, to track your foods, because you may not be aware it's not necessarily the dairy, or like you think that you're lactose intolerant. You might, to an extent, because I think like the whole world at some point, in their livelihood is gonna become a little intolerant to it if they have too much of it. If you go in massive doses of it, I think we're all going to have some of that backlash. But again, I thought it was just like a demon because I grew up with eating cheeseburgers and pizza. Like that was just kind of my thing. And until I got out of high school, I still ate that every day. It's ridiculous.
I think though, you know, geographical location has a lot to do with it too. Like we weren't close to any of these things at all. Like I was regional, you know, farms everywhere girl. So it's not, you know, it wasn't a massive thing. So you couldn't have all those things. It was just different. Growing up was just different.
Well, we're thinking of like big families too, right? Like, well, any Hispanic can relate to the bigger family kind of thing. And some other families that can also, you know, get to the bigger number of siblings and, you know, cousins and everyone around. And so here goes, you know, mom trying to cook for every, you know, person and 10 plus people. It gets really costly. And I think, again, this kind of relates still to what we're saying is cooking in bulk and, you know, really doing things that are going to allow the cost efficiency to help you spread it out through the week. So don't think of eating out every single day or having to outsource, because outsourcing does get a little pricey. I only outsource sometimes when it gets really busy in my schedule. I'll outsource maybe like a lunch and dinner. So I won't even do my all meals of the day. Okay. I'll just do like a lunch and dinner, and that's 2 times a day. So I'll like maybe do 5 days because I know 2 of the days I'm going to be like more free. I won't do a full 7 days because I'll end up probably throwing that food away anyway, you know, because I'll end up wanting to eat my food because I'm going to not want to throw my food away. So it's more about making sure, you know, you do resourcefully look at the stores that are local to you and start looking at maybe the price point is a little different from store to store. I think that's one of the things I've noticed a lot. That you can see chicken, you know, let's say just $8 a pound. I'm just giving, you know, throwing numbers out now, you know, it's at, you know, Walmart versus it's $10 or $12 at another store. So I think that's also very helpful when we're thinking of the, you know, meal plan or what we have to eat. But also eggs. I mean, we haven't even talked about eggs really. And eggs is probably the most like essential as far as getting egg whites or, you know, regular full eggs, depending on their macros. It's so easy. Like you can literally buy a whole box of cartons of egg whites and then have a whole, you know, obviously egg, you know, carton of just regular eggs and be able to use those for every single meal. Like if you really had no ability to get yourself beef and chicken, you can live off tuna and eggs. I'm just saying, right? Like those are the 2 things you're able to. Not saying that's it's not the ideal thing, but hey, you got to meet ends meet. And it's more about just being unaware of the bulk ordering or bulk buying and bulk cooking. I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, I agree. So I think, you know, the short-term takeaways are fresh produce in bulk, you know, looking at the grains and the carbohydrates that service the whole family, where you can prepare in bulk, where you can actually also then prepare them many different ways for varieties. You're not just getting the same thing. You know, we even toyed with actually getting chickens. So we had our own eggs as well. But
I can totally see you guys having it.
Just attacks birds though. So I'm like,
my dogs would have ate them a long time ago.
So he would probably try to eat them. That's the only
reason. He will eat it. Just know, dogs will eat them. Like they don't just kill them. They'll eat them.
I did consider the chicken because eggs are expensive.
They're vicious.
Oh, yeah. And at the end of the day, fresh eggs are always best. You know, who doesn't love fresh eggs first thing in the morning, straight from the bloody backyard? Because I know growing up, that was the best. But you know,
are a farm girl. I've always been a
babe, 100%. 100%. I used to wake up at 4 a.m. at 7 or 8 age. No, I used to be out on the back of the truck transplanting beetroots into the fields before I'd go to school.
No, I was going to downtown LA at 4 a.m. to get produce. Okay, from like the downtown, so my mom can actually like have her food truck, because I grew up with my parents having food trucks and stuff. So like I literally was always in the food truck, whether if it was they would sell produce, and we would have to go to downtown LA at 4 a.m. to beat this 3-hour traffic, technically to get there to be able to get back so that she can get to work essentially in her truck and go to all these little neighborhoods to be able to sell your fruit, your vegetables, your ice cream, she'd make tamales just certain days of the week. So that was what this is why she would probably pop me into McDonald's is like, here you go, shut up, here's your Happy Meal, you know what I mean? And like, go play. Like, hey, this is normal, I think, for so many people that are busy at work and then they just kind of want to maybe feed their children and it just feeds them crap.
On that note, because I have a 9-year-old and, there is often times when you're out and about and you're running between appointments, you've got post, after school curricular activities, she's running from ballet to swimming to, oh my God, doing everything, right? So, what I do? Sushi. Sushi is an incredibly cost-effective, really great option to give your child
maybe it is over there, but here it's actually like a delicacy. Like really? In order for us to get sushi, it's like you want to make that the date night. You want to make that like your sushi here. Well, at least in Texas, we're not on the water. Like even when we go visit places on the water, it's never a cheap expense because it's way more of you see people here eating sushi, it's going to be like, we don't go there every day, you know what I mean? Like
you can get like 3 big hand rolls, which are like quite big, and she loves
I know what the hand rolls are.
She loves the tuna and cucumber ones. Well, you can literally get 3 of them for like $5.
So just to give you guys the perspective, so like a hand roll here would be double of that. So just one hand roll would be double. So like one hand roll would probably be $10 to $12, per one. Yeah. And if we're thinking of just like maybe like an actual roll, that would be like 8 or whatever sushis, like what you would probably consider $5 is probably $15 here. Yeah, so again, big difference. Yeah. Like so a regular, like if you did California rolls, you go to a California roll, at a sushi place, it's going to be minimum 12 to maybe up to $17. Yeah. It's stupid. It's crazy. It's not a cheap thing here, but I get it. It's different. It's different regions, different parts of the world. Exactly. Australia is practically a swimming island, like you guys have water all over. So you guys definitely have a lot more fishes. And I think that probably the cost of fish is probably very different than here. Here, the fish gets quite pricey, which is why I didn't mention any fishes except the tuna. Because tuna in a can or salmon in a can, it's just the most cost efficient here in the States. Other than that, it's going to be ground meats, like I was telling you guys. As far as like other proteins, it would be eggs, egg whites, beans, obviously lentils. Any of my vegetarians, vegans, like the number one thing is going to be your lentils, right? Like getting in sufficient amount of lentils and, trying to also get in maybe even some, protein powders. It's just, again, to cost efficiently, budget things out. Usually those protein powders, we didn't talk about them today.
No, I didn't talk about wholesome foods because they're very expensive. So
they do get expensive.
For anyone that is looking at, actually keeping a proper budget, you're better off buying in bulk and cooking actual whole foods.
Yep. Because eggs are going to be the way to go if you're trying to like really budget.
Exactly. You'll keep it so much lower price point without
if you're trying to think of your macro, well, how am I going to hit 25 grams of protein with no fat? Egg whites, y'all. Egg whites. Okay. So that's like the easiest and most costly, not in a bad way. It's like you might as well just buy it in bulk and they last quite a while. They do. I know when I buy a box of egg whites and each carton's like a couple months, I'll get definitely through those cartons, within a couple months. So just think of, looking at wholesalers, go to the farmer's market, look at local stores and compare their prices, buy in bulk, cook in bulk, don't just leave it day by day. Cause then you do end up, obviously spending more by, doing individual items rather than bulk items. The marketing technique for all products, it practically across the board for anything, drinks, food, even when you're at the store just buying clothes sometimes. Why do you think they try to market 2 for $1 is cheaper, right? Like 2 instead of just buying 1, it's going to be more expensive. So individual packages, like if you're going to get individual like nuts, that's going to be way more Exactly. Then you're just buying a bag of nuts that you would have to weigh out yourself. So yes, you do have to do a little more legwork by measuring, and obviously cooking in bulk, and maybe just using the freezing technique that we talked about, maybe having to freeze your meals by the end of when the freshness is out, you just throw it in the freezer. The freshness will not go out if you freeze it with enough time.
Exactly right. So, you can clearly see that you can in fact eat clean, and I hate the word clean actually, but clean.
Good wholesome food and just on a budget.
You can stay within a budget, and you really can. You just need to be creative, and you also need to be super organized. It's organization is going to be the key.
Preparation.
Research your source, for where you're going to purchase these things from, and then, go to town.
Because you may have to go to different stores. I know there's been times because of how big difference, from meat to meat, or let's say from even milk to milk. Oh my God, there's times that they try to charge me double the price for my almond milk. I'm like, I'm not going to go to that store to buy my almond milk. I'm going to go to this store to buy my almond milk, because it is literally half the price, So if it's worth, you actually going to separate stores, I don't know how about fuel. I don't know how y'all's fuel is going over there. And you have to take that into consideration now with gas prices going up. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's more about just being, like she said, a lot more organized, but at the same time, make sure you are preparing these meals, because if you wait till the day of or just try to wing it,
all your food's going to be spoiled. Exactly right.
I hope you guys were able to learn from some of these.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'd love to hear some of your hacks. If you've got things that have worked for you over the years, or in particular timeframes where you've had to be quite tight with stuff, we'd love to hear about, what it is you've done, little hacks you've had with regards.
Fill us in. We'd love to share. Yeah.
I guess even in some of the ways that you shop, that'd be great. Because I think, there's so many.
We don't know all the hacks in the world, but we would love to hear some more if we didn't talk about some, and you guys do a current, little bulking technique that allows you to save some money, or some freezing techniques. I know I didn't learn about that avocado trip till like literally a few months ago, and it's saved my life so many times that my avocado was about to go bad. So if you guys have any tricks like that about storing your food, cooking your food, budgeting, and obviously, meal prepping, let us know, share, don't keep it to yourself, give us all some of that, knowledge, and we'd love to share it with everybody else. And once again, thank you guys all for listening, and we will see you guys on the other side next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Queen Divas, Queens of Fitness podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Queen Divas Pod, on Twitter at Queen Divas 4, and follow our hosts on Instagram, Alicia at Alicia Gowans _WBFF Pro, and Steph at Stephanie Ayala 7. See you all next week.